fuck this up, and I'll pop a banana skin over your cock and call for the gorillas.
Yo ho ho and a bottle of spunk. Oh, that's what I was expecting at any rate. Risen 2 Dark Waters immediately gives me a greater impression than the first game, thanks to the starting role. As a cynical lieutenant of the Inquisition, we're given a top secret mission, one so secret that nobody but a select few members of the organization knows the truth behind it. We must capture the Titan artifacts and stop the Titans, beings that were created by the gods to shape the world. In the previous game, we'd killed the Titan that was destined to destroy our world, but mankind had arisen, hence the name. To be honest, he was one of the better fights, but that's history. As humanity sets sail into the new world, the Titan of the Sea comes to avenge a fiery brother and wastes no time sicking the forces of Davy Jones' locker on us. The Titan artifacts aren't going to be easy to obtain. We need to infiltrate the pirate factions and do whatever we can to take their captain's treasures. Now this could be considered the first problem of the game, that it's not necessarily a pirate RPG, but an RPG with a pirate skin. Because we can't do any actual piracy unless it behooves the Inquisition, of course. Still, we can go drinking, whoring and fighting, so I'll meet it halfway. But if you expect to be raiding ships, burying your treasure hoards, which won't last, or telling your lugs to get to work, you've got another thing coming. You can, however, do other piratey things such as uncovering the secrets of treasure maps, firing flintlocks, or perpetuating the stereotype of having a parrot shit on your shoulder. Marvellous! It can't all be fun and games though, you're still a member of the Inquisition, just a temporarily disgraced one, and time is running short. Pirates are crafty and know when they're being diddled of ancient artifacts. We meet the legendary Steelbeard, his crew, and learn of an uncivil war taking place in the pirate clans, and I must be honest, you get absorbed into it.
Before you say it, Scroat, no. Not up the cabin boy's bumhole or whatever it is you're thinking.
Perhaps to the point where being loyal to the Inquisition doesn't really mean anything. I mean, the game doesn't encourage choice, you just have to go with what the quests require you to do. And boy oh boy have the quests improved. There's a lot more helpful dialogue that you still have to listen to, and quest markers are obscure, but at least you know what you're doing this time round. I wouldn't consider it dumbing down because it doesn't remove anything from the previous Risen, besides the clunky controls and lack of direction, which I'll be fair and say the latter help with the game's atmosphere, what with you being a castaway. There's still the need to build trust between characters and perform fates before you can be recognised as worthy of being called a pirate, and as you rise through the ranks, more is expected of you.
I've got something that'll maybe change your mind about me. I took care of that crabs problem.
Your personal hygiene's your own affair, lad.
It's a lot more appealing at the fetch quests and slave driving of before. Here you're acting like you're in it for yourself, just as a pirate should. And if that means getting into a scrap, stealing booty or flirting your way into some, you have all the necessary means to do so. Going back to what I said about the starting role, I like that my character isn't a blank slate and has certain skills and expectations to be met. I personally find creativity stems from limitations, and by forcing the Nameless One into the role of the Inquisition spy, he will only be trained in so many things. It's just a shame then that magic has been outlawed, otherwise it would be interesting to see how he fares against wizards, which we'll get into soon. There's not many skills to invest glory into, glory replacing learning points and seeming like it offers a lot more freedom when investing in it. You still have to purchase proficiencies, something I hated about the previous game, but you paid a modest sum for your troubles when doing quests. Plus, it's not so much that it feels like it invalidates the payment model, should you have liked that in the first Risen. Blades and firearms are the two offensive combat skills, whereas toughness determines your grit in a fight, and cunning determines your roguish elements. And lordy Lou is cunning good. Ever heard of dirty tricks? If not, it's a lost art of the modern RPG. It allows you to throw anything from sand to powdered glass into the face of your enemy. You can also give people a kick in the cock if they get too close. Well, actually just a boot in the gut, but I like to think you're giving them a Yorkshire handshake. If flirting fails, you can always fall back on fighting, which has seen vast improvements. For starters, I can parry, counterattack, and roll! Hell, the roll is good enough to see you through the entire game! Most of the combat takes place in melee combat, even as the best firearms become available as you specialise in muskets, thanks to the reload times. This isn't a complaint though, the hacking and slicing sounds are satisfying, and every hit feels like it's doing damage. The satisfaction of those rare critical strikes is like no other. When your guns come off cooldown, that's when things can be either awesome or terrible. When a bullet finds its mark, it's euphoric to see an enemy's health plummet like a pirate prostitute's pants. But if you miss, your enemy will close in on you and likely get a free hit. And this isn't counting the slight delay in any attacks or movement, but rolling is perfectly responsive. No matter how high the firearm's skill, it seemed to be down to chance. My damage was increasing, that's one good thing about investing in the skill, but my accuracy didn't improve as far as I could tell. There is another skill I need to tell you about though, one that comes at the price of firearm efficiency. The power of voodoo. You'll come across the natives in the New World, and kudos for the devs for making a translatable language for the tribes, and if you earn their loyalty, you can learn voodoo. Yeah, so you can annoy the Inquisition to stop one of the pirate captains and an Earth Golem, or you can side with those who know magical powers, an art that has been banned and forgotten. Once again, I have to praise the devs for showing the struggles of the natives. Many want to preserve the art of voodoo due to its traditions, but others want to advance with knowledge of powder and shot.
Caca.
But without ever trying out a shotgun or a rifle, voodoo seemed far more appealing, and that's what I went with. If you use it correctly, voodoo is a powerful skill that can be used to manipulate, weaken enemies, and drain the souls of your foes. If used incorrectly, it's a pretty niche ability. I mostly use voodoo to mind control people when the game required me to do so, and this was possibly the most fun I had in the game. It makes it an almost entirely new experience. Playing as a governor or a commander lets you boss people around, causing distractions and making them look like idiots. And if you can make bank on the side, why not? Alas, this is reduced to a plot device, meaning you can't just mind control anyone. At least not anyone useful, so no, you can't just take over any lady and look down a dress. I tried.
God, you're weird, aren't you? I mean, you're really weird.
You can only do it when you've got certain items belonging to a character that you need to take control of. I wouldn't say it was a waste when I only use firearms in between melee fights, and besides, who doesn't like the idea of being a voodoo pirate? Your crew doesn't seem to mind a jot either. Oh yeah, you can have a pirate crew and a single follower watching your back, including Patty of the previous game. Patty is good with both blade and bullet and will give you the best advice when dealing with pirates. She can also intimidate those who think she's incapable purely because she's a woman. But that could be farther from the truth. She's easily the most practical character I brought on my ship, next to the voodoo priestess Shani. Shani can not only whack people with a voodoo stick, which probably isn't the technical term, but she can also blast you with strong healing spells. It beats necking your best grog. And lastly, Jafar was the other follower, a gnome who aspired to be a pirate, searching for his Ori Kulki, an item of exceptional value that can only be found on his great journey.
Cleverest bastard gnome. Fuck yes!
While he's good at stabbing away at opponents, he doesn't really compare to Patty, but he does bring a crude sense of humour and will often store loot that you've missed. Together, these fine people, you've got to do a lot of exploring. Your journey is mostly non-linear. You can choose whichever quest critical zone in any order you like and not have that much impact. God help you if you're stuck though. There'll be times when you have no access to your ship and the enemies in your way are too damn strong. Be very careful when deciding and save often. It's worth it though, just to explore the lush environments. The tropics are as gorgeous as they are dangerous, and the shoddily built towns have the charm of greater things to come. You really feel like you're at the start of something big. Lurking in the jungles and ruins are repetitive enemies such as monkeys, gorillas, panthers and tribesmen, with the odd giant crab and sunken one. Yet again, this is still better than the previous game where most fights were melee. Combat with creatures will almost always be that, but pirates, soldiers and tribesmen will have ranged attacks that you need to be prepared to go up against. And there's very little danger on the sea until the plot calls for it, which is about 3 times, and at only 1 time are you summoned to the great deep below by the Kraken. Risen 2 looks a ton better than the previous game. Yes, it's still muddy, there's some questionable animation work and the environments could be better, but is it really all that bad? The character models are a lot better, and there's a lot less recycling this time around except for hostile creatures, they're all one and the same. My favourite part, besides the environmental design, is that enemies signal their attacks and you're given brief windows to react, and you can tell the difference between their moves. I've not much to say about the visuals because where they're not great, they're good at worst. No, it's the sound design that I really like. The voice acting is way better, as is the writing, constantly reminding you that this is a pirate's world. More than once did I laugh out loud at some of the dirty jokes. The soundtrack isn't as clear as the previous game, which had some enchanted songs to it, but when it does play, I want to hear it the whole way through. I'm displeased that I only had this much to say about the game and that my 40 hours have been boiled down to a script rushed in under 2 hours. Dark Waters isn't just a great game, but it's so much better than its previous entry. From combat to quests, from conversation to navigation, Risen 2 atones for the sins of its ancestor. I hated the first game, and I still believe that while I was harsh, I was mostly fair, but this game makes up for the lost time, money, and patience. For the most hardcore high fantasy RPG fans, this might not be the sequel you wanted, and I can wholly empathise with that, but it's given me a lot more respect for the previous game and what it tried to do. I can see myself replaying this and doing things differently, as mistakes have been made and quests had gone uncompleted, but I'll do so now I've come to peace with the franchise. For £7.99 it's a steal, but with it often being on sale I'd recommend holding off a bit longer to maybe try out the Gold Edition for its bonus goodies. Why couldn't the pirate be bothered to do an outro? Because he couldn't be arsed!
Fine, that's enough of that.